Yuki Tsunoda's performance in Austria shed yet another doubt on his future with Red Bull. But this time, things are getting a lot more serious. The Japanese driver finished dead last, despite 4 drivers being out of the race. His reckless driving also earned him a 10-second penalty that further compromised any potential progress. Did Tsunoda just sign off on his exit from Red Bull? And if so, who could be the replacement now that Lindblad received the super license through exemption rules? Red Bull suffered a disastrous weekend at their home race in Austria, and from this perspective, it's clear that they're likely to become backmarkers, if not for Verstappen. Tsunoda disappointed when it mattered most, both in qualifying and during the race itself, thinning his chances of remaining with Red Bull not just for the 2026 season, but potentially for the remainder of 2025 as well. The cruel reality in the Austrian squad is that they are going to push for a replacement sooner rather than later. With the likes of Arvid Lindblad and Isaac Hadjar now closely linked to promotion, this is no longer speculation. Statements made by Helmut Marko are a loud indicator of what's coming. When talking about Tsunoda's struggles, the veteran Austrian said clearly that Yuki's main limitation is his inability to adapt to the car. Elaborating further, Marko stated, with his first set, Tsunoda was still somewhat within range. That would have been enough for Q3. But with the changing conditions, Yuki just has a much harder time adapting. Max can drive over that. But the main problem is that our car has too narrow of a working window and is also extremely edgy at the limit. This is never good news for a driver who wants to push at the front and keep his seat. The last thing you'd want is for Marko to criticize your performance. At the end of the day, he's responsible for the talents that need to be promoted to Red Bull. As of now, he has 2 strong choices who have a lot to prove to the entire F1 world, Hadjar and Lindblad. Both Racing Bull's drivers are currently ahead of Tsunoda in the Drivers' Championship after the Austrian GP. So being P7 in the standings definitely doesn't bode well for Yuki. In the last 5 races, Tsunoda has failed to reach Q3 even once, falling out in Q1 3 times and in Q2 twice. In such a competitive world where qualifying matters the most, it's hard to believe that Tsunoda can improve his position if he continues driving the way he did in Austria. He attempted some questionable overtakes on both Stroll and Colapinto, the latter of which resulted in a spin at turn 6, earning Tsunoda a 10-second penalty. When Verstappen is out of the race due to an unfortunate incident, the team desperately needs the second car to score points. Unfortunately for Red Bull, they've been given another harsh reality check when it comes to any driver not named Max Verstappen. Tsunoda himself made a sobering statement about his recent struggles. He admitted that he's not at the level he used to be back in Carb, formerly AlphaTauri, and publicly discussing this highlights the seriousness of his decline. Elaborating further, Tsunoda said, "I am just not able to put it all together in qualifying. It is not all the time, but I'm just not able to execute properly in qualifying for several reasons, which is frustrating. I was expecting to be in Q3. The car felt good, and the first push lap felt good. But somehow, with the stage I am in, I'm happy with the confidence, and I'm sure I'm heading in the right direction." He added, Max was reporting the same problems in Q2, but at least he knows this car and how to handle it. I am not at the level where I can adjust fully in the lap or maximize the package. That's not the level I was at with Carb. To make things worse, Tsunoda wasn't at all happy with the race pace during the Austrian GP either. He admitted that he has no idea what he's doing wrong, but the gap between where he is and where he needs to be is massive. Even while working with the engineers, he's unsure of what else can be improved. This is more or less the same reason the team decided to ditch Lawson after just 2 races. He showed no signs of adapting to the RB21. And now, after joining Racing Bulls, Lawson has scored 12 points in total and currently stands ahead of Yuki. So from this perspective, we have to ask, is Red Bull truly a promotion compared to Racing Bulls? And if not, would Hadjar be better off staying where he is, rather than chasing uncertain glory with Red Bull? So what does the future hold for Red Bull? It's simple. They need to see what other drivers can do alongside Verstappen. Right now, the frontrunner for that role is Isaac Hadjar. However, the Frenchman has reportedly been told by Racing Bull's team principal Laurent Mekies that he'll stay with them until the end of 2026. But given how quickly things move at Red Bull, it's unlikely this wish will be fulfilled. Red Bull needs to determine whether potential at Racing Bulls can be converted into top-tier performance. So far, both Lawson and Tsunoda have unintentionally justified Perez's position in the main team. But that doesn't have to be the case for drivers like Hadjar and Lindblad. Hadjar has said clearly that he would accept the call from Helmut Marko or Christian Horner, despite admitting he doesn't yet feel ready for the seat. But when a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity comes, it's hard to turn it down. Yes, it may look like a demotion from some angles, but with Max's future uncertain, you could soon find yourself as the team leader. It's the perfect scenario for both teams. Racing Bulls will get a better idea of Lindblad's performance in their car, potentially for the entirety of 2026. Arvid Lindblad is now being groomed for a swift promotion to F1. His FP1 session at Silverstone proves that Red Bull is serious about his future. But before placing him in the main team, Marko and Horner will want to see what he can do in an F1 car, which is exactly why Racing Bulls exists. So if Hadjar replaces Tsunoda, Lindblad will likely take the open seat at Racing Bulls. That would leave Yuki without a drive for 2026. It's a cruel reality, but no one imposed it on him. I don't blame him entirely for the lack of performance, but this is the very promotion he has spent 5 years working toward within AlphaTauri and Racing Bulls. Suddenly, he's not delivering the performance needed to keep that dream alive. All things considered, we must ask serious questions now. Red Bull's upgrades have been questionable, and even Max wasn't happy with the car's performance. But at least he's still getting it into Q3 and competing at the front. Expectations for Max's teammate were to be around 0.3 of a second behind, not failing to make Q3 entirely. That's why F1 pundit Peter Windsor called Tsunoda's performance criminal. He said, "Yuki Tsunoda is the biggest disappointment, really, of the entire qualifying session. On this circuit, in a car that Verstappen is getting under 1 minute and 5 seconds, Tsunoda is doing a 1 minute and 5.3 seconds and not getting out of Q1. Absolutely terrible. 1 minute he's got the car oversteering, then it's understeering because of the heat buildup and the way he drives. He's not using the front of the car anything like Max Verstappen does, and I find it astonishing that he doesn't realize that, quite obviously. And his engineers? I don't know. Either they've tried telling him and he doesn't believe it, or nobody understands it." Nevertheless, the situation for Tsunoda is going to get very heated in the coming weeks.